Billy McLeod asked me if I'd be interested in going into the thoracic surgical unit or up to the cardiac surgical unit that had been that was operating at that time. The physiotherapist that was there was very good, and she got on well with the staff. She'd been there with them more or less from the word go, but she wouldn't take students into the area, and Billy was trying to get students in to at least to be able to observe and be in that area. And there was a tremendous amount of feeling, so I went into a situation that was far from pleasant. Also, I had never ever seen a positive pressure machine, and there was I faced with all these new gadgets and gizmos and had to try and cope. The physiotherapist in charge of the wards at that time, Margaret Brenzel, came up and showed me what to do. And I was told that I'd get masses of help from the nursing staff there, but the nursing staff had their noses out of joint because poor Di had lost her job, and they sat there and gloated and sort of watched me struggle. So I just about ran myself ragged in trying to do the job, which I did cope with eventually, and I think quite adequately. So I stayed there until Billy wanted a tutor for the third year students in their final year, and suggested that I do that. And as I was getting older and I was getting a bit tired of rushing from one end of the hospital to the other, I agreed, and then entered a new phase of my work first as a tutor and then as a lecturer at the physiotherapy school. So as a tutor, I remember saying to my students, I had, I think it was 15 or 12, that first year anyway, and I said, well, it's a while since I've had my head in books, and I'm probably a bit stale, but I'll try and keep abreast of you, and if I don't know anything you want to know, we'll certainly find out. And we worked on that premise really, and yes, they all passed, and it was good. I learned a tremendous amount of it that year. I loved it. I found that all the theory that I'd learned as a student was far more meaningful, and I could go back to their 8 o'clock tutorial and say, guess what I read last night? Now, isn't this fascinating now? And I could connect it up with stuff that I'd seen over the years, and it came alive to me, and I hope it came alive to them. It was great. I loved it. And I hated marking the papers, but I just loved, especially the practical work. I've always been good at that. The first thing that hit me was the use of abbreviations. We never abbreviated things. We never called deep vein thrombosis DVTs and so on. And so I was staggered, I thought, well, I thought I knew my chest physiology. What are all these terms? And had to, sort of become familiar with them all again. I couldn't get over the casual way of students after my student days, where we weren't allowed to sit down when we were on duty. We weren't even allowed to lean against a wall. And these kids, they were rushing in to get a seat, first in, first served. That was great. But as far as physiotherapy is concerned, yes, the training had improved in many ways, except for the massage, and I didn't feel they knew their anatomy. They knew their anatomy, but in some ways we had, done all all our electrotherapy and muscle testing, strength, duration curves, and all this sort of thing. We knew our nerves and what they supplied inside out. The students today don't know it. We had to know the relationships of everything as they travel down and what would be exposed at certain levels and what you would see and what lay. I found that they just had no knowledge of the nerve supply of certain muscles. Well, not know, they knew a bit, certainly knew a bit. And the thing was that they were taught anatomy very well. They had a very good anatomy teacher. So whether they filed it away and didn't remember it through to their when they were applying it, I think that's probably what happened. Yes. But their application wasn't as good. As far as nerve supply and things, I think possibly if they were asked to describe what happened on around a joint, they'd probably be better than we were. But their nerve supplies, they didn't know. It surprised me. Yeah.